Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has unveiled the interim budget for 2024-25. From the nation's resolute response to the challenges posed by the pandemic to initiatives fostering inclusive growth, we dissect the key points that shape the economic landscape. Well, the Finance Minister began with how in the last decade India has undergone a profound economic transformation. She highlights a decade of robust growth marked by the inclusive mantra, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. The nation's development philosophy extends across all spheres of inclusivity, overcoming the challenges posed by a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. She further said that the government's commitment to all-around, all-pervasive and all-inclusive growth is evident in its vision to make India a developed nation by 2047.
Social justice. Our government is working with an approach to development that is all-round, all-pervasive and all-inclusive. Sarvangin, Sarvasparshi or Sarvasamaveshi. It covers all castes and people at all levels. We are working to make India a Vikasit Bharat by 2047.
Shifting our focus to the fiscal landscape now, the government aims for a balanced approach. The fiscal deficit target is set at 5.8% of the GDP, indicating a prudent fiscal strategy. Now, looking ahead to the FY25, there is an optimistic projection with the fiscal deficit expected to reduce to 5.1%. Now, India aims to lower fiscal deficit below 4.5% by FY26. Now, zooming in on the
we continue
capital
on the fiscal consolidation. As announced in my budget speech of 2021-22, to reduce fiscal deficit below 4.5% by 25-26. The fiscal deficit in 2024-25 is estimated to be 5.1% of GDP, adhering to that path. The Indian economy has witnessed profound positive transformation in the last 10 years.
Now, zooming in on the capital expenditure, the surge reflects a strategic push for development initiatives across sectors. The doubling of airports to 149 and the addition of 570 new routes signal a significant leap in connectivity, fostering growth in the travel and tourism sector. Additionally, the first Develop India approach echoes in the doubling of foreign direct investments from 2005 to 2014. Amid these economic milestones, it is worth noting that there are no changes in the tax slabs as predicted. Now, here are some reactions on the newly unveiled interim budget.
एक ऐतिहासिक बजट है जो पूर्ण रूप से परिलक्षित करता है कि प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में जो भारत में एक नई क्रांति और परिवर्तन पिछले एक दशक में आई है, एक विकसित भारत का लक्ष्य, एक आत्मनिर्भर भारत का लक्ष्य, एक विश्व गुरु बनने का लक्ष्य, उन तीनों लक्ष्यों के प्रति पूर्ण स्पर्धा के साथ और गति के साथ भारत बढ़ चुका है.
Well, it was one of the shortest speeches on record in the budget, and not very much came out of it. As usual, a lot of rhetorical language, very little concrete on implementation. Some serious questions about areas of omission. No reference to the success or failure of the PLI scheme, which is taking so much money. She talked about foreign investment without acknowledging that investment has come down significantly. She talked, frankly, about a number of things that are couched in vague language like for confidence and hope and so on. But when it comes to hard figures, there were very few figures available.
We are now being joined by Mark Brolin, who is a senior economist and geopolitical strategist, and he is joining us live on this broadcast. Mark, thank you so much for joining us on this bulletin. My first question to you is, if you could just tell us, elaborate for us, did the budget address the cost of globalization, like supply chain issues, elevated inflation and higher for longer interest rates?
Sorry, the question? I missed that bit.
Sure. Mark, if you could hear me properly, I will repeat the question for you. Just since you have analyzed the budget for us, I wanted to understand for our viewers as well, did this budget address the cost of deglobalization, like the supply chain issues, elevated inflation, or longer interest rates?
Yeah, that's a great question, since I think this budget is very much designed towards, in a way, the international investors. And I think the finance minister is, of course, well aware that there is lots of money up for grabs. International investors are sort of not especially keen on China and Europe right now. And at the time when India is needing international money to meet its ambitious growth targets. So the sales pitch, I think it's towards international investors, I think it even exceeded expectations. Fiscal prudence is important for international investors, of course, because of the inflation issue and the closely linked weak rupee. Capex infrastructure spending, very important as well, given that the finance minister is pushing India as a manufacturing hub, and that will, as you were saying, help to solve the supply chain issues if international investors will invest money in India. And of course, if infrastructure makes transport costs lower, that will be a big boost for manufacturing industry. So I do think she very much played on the friend-shoring concept or sentiment, which is sort of in vogue right now.
Okay. Mark, also do tell us, does India's interim budget here position India to be a developed economy by 2047? Where do these global investors see value unlocking in India's economy?
But that's so special with India, and I think that's part of the growth miracle in a way, that it's such a diversified economy. If you compare that to, for example, other Brazil or Indonesia or other emerging economies that are also growing fast. It's diversified in so many ways. You have manufacturing, you have AI, of course, technology, but it's across the board. India is an interesting place. So, it's hard to actually pinpoint individual sectors because there are so many that are interesting for and it's such a huge market, of course, the world's largest population. It's domestically when it has developed a bit more. This is such a great place to be. So it will be interesting across the board, I think.
Right. When you speak about India's growth, would you say that India can grow inclusively and sustainably?
Well, I mean, some measures have to be taken. There are challenges. India is in a great place in many ways. In so many ways, and it's unique since so many other countries in the world are not. But of course, there are challenges that have to be tackled. The ones we mentioned, the weak rupee and inflation issue, that has to be addressed, and that's what the finance minister has been doing with this budget, I think. But then we have the corruption issue. That's many countries are affected by that, but so is India, and I think the problem has decreased a bit over the next 10 years or so, but it's still a problem, and that problem is also linked heavily to the regulatory regime. Many foreign, not least foreigners, foreign investors see it as a big problem with all the states and different regulations in different states and territories of India. So it's a bit of a struggle to actually settle still. So that has to be tackled. We have conglomerates. That's one challenge that has to be tackled as well. That's a problem that is affecting conglomerates can lead to a pro-big business rather than pro-free markets situation. And that's a problem that is dragging down the Eurozone in a big way. So that I think India has to perhaps to take note from what's happening in Europe and avoid that problem. Then we have imported energy shocks that could happen. And also inclusivity, the labour participation rate. The finance minister is addressing this as well, of course. the number of women in the workforce need to increase. That's what has happened in all other rich countries. So challenges exist, but there are so many things going India's way. So if they are tackled, there is so many upsides.
Right, challenges are excess, but so many things going India's way. Thank you so much, Mark Browling, for joining us with your perspective on this.
Thank you.